U.S. intelligence agency mind control.
Iranians chanted death to Israel in Tehran on Friday, hours after an apparent
Did you do Instagram?
Israeli drone strike
No, not
near
yet.
the central
I'll do it now.
city of Isfahan. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken declined to confirm whether Israel told Washington in advance.
I'm not going to speak to that, except to say that the United States has not been involved in any offensive operations. Our focus has been on, of course, making sure that Israel can effectively defend itself, but also de-escalating tensions.
Israel's attack on Isfahan was expected, and the United States is likely to have known in advance.
The Biden administration understands that Israel needs to do its own version of face-saving retaliation after Iran's unprecedented and dramatic attacks last Saturday, in the same way that Israel understands Iran's own need to do face-saving strikes after the targeting of the embassy in
face-saving strike. Shut up.
Iran launched hundreds of drones and missiles at Israel on April 13th. The attack showed the country's power, said Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi Friday, without mentioning Israel's counterattack.
Striking Israel was necessary, obligatory, unifying, and a source of pride and power for our great country.
Nearly all of Iran's drones and missiles were intercepted with the help of the United States, the UK, and Jordan, causing no loss of life and little damage. Israel's attacks on Iran also appear to be limited, with no casualties immediately reported. World leaders say enough
is absolutely necessary, that the region stays stable and that all sides refrain from further action.
Both sides appear willing to avoid further escalation, at least for now.
Maybe what will happen in the next phase is that Iran and then Israel will go back to what has been their shadow war, which is attacks through terror attacks, proxy groups, and also assassinations that Israel has conducted against nuclear scientists. So I think that's probably the best case scenario. The worst case scenario is that it becomes an open conflagration, one that draws in Hezbollah in Lebanon.
The back-and-forth fire further inflames a region already on edge over Israel's war against Hamas, an Iran proxy in Gaza. Biden has been unsuccessful in pushing for a ceasefire deal. Over the weekend, Hamas raised new demands, throwing talks into disarray. Patsy Widakuswara, viewing news at the White House.
Oh, bro.
Just recognize.
Check it out. They delivered this to my address instead of somebody else's, you know, whoever this guy is.
What is that?
It's Frescas. I got two big things of them for free.
I don't know what that is.
Oh, it's like it's like a soda water.
Ah.
This one's grapefruit citrus. Gross.
And what, you don't have to send it back or anything? It's just yours now? Great.
Pay for it. He gets a refund if he claims it.
Oh, that's funny as. Winner.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maggie McGrath, senior editor at Forbes, and today we are joined by Gregory Brew. He is an analyst with the Eurasia Group, and he covers energy and Iran, and we will be talking about both of these things today.
Okay.
Greg, thanks so much for joining us. It's busy news day.
Thanks so much for having me on.
I don't care about Forbes. Let's see what dumb people like Sam Cedar. Well, he's not dumb. Sam Cedar's got some funny stuff.
Okay. Well, oh my God, it's an hour and a half. All right, we're not going to sit through this.
What one is? You have to pull it up because okay. What is this?
Snowboard, obviously.
Oh, we might have watched. Did we watch this already?
Nope.
Okay, I think I saved this one because it was funny with Hasan freaking out. But who knows?
I'll speed it up to 1.5 because it's an hour and a half long.
Oh, we won't watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
Reports of near simultaneous strikes on Iran targets in Isfahan, home to the nuclear facilities, as well as targeting air bases in Daraa and Suwaida in northern Syria, home to the radar and air defense sites. Developing. If they're targeting air defense sites and radar, and it's not a one-off, or maybe it is, I don't know, but it doesn't feel like it would be a one-off. Intel Doge says 2 flights over Iran bound for Dubai turning around. I mean, that's just 2 flights. They both turned around right before getting near Isfahan. I mean, they're probably turning around, I assume, because they saw the explosion and they're worried. The Suwaida 24 correspondent, preliminary information indicates that unidentified warplanes carried out airstrikes on Syrian military sites between the governments. More details as they come in. Strong sounds of warplanes flying in the southern countryside preceded in minutes by the sounds of 3 successive explosions, the sound of which was heard in the city of Suwaida and the western countryside. J-Post is only confirming explosions in Syria. I thought they also, no, explosions heard in Iran, Syria, and Iraq. Syrian reports indicated airstrikes targeted sites belonging to the Syrian army in As-Suwaida and Daraa governorates of southern Syria. Explosions were heard in Isfahan in central Iran, in the As-Suwaida governorate of southern Syria, and in the Baghdad area and the Babel governorate of Iraq early Friday morning. There was no official confirmation of explosions in Iraq and Iran or of their cause as of early Friday morning. From the Al-Mayadeen correspondent in Baghdad, an explosion was heard, the cause of which was unknown, in the Imam district of Babel governorate south of the country.
Wait, is this the full?
We have to see what targets were hit. If they were, we will really not as
President Biden had told Netanyahu that Israel would have to go at it alone on any counterstrike against Iran. I want to pivot now and bring in Mick Mulroy, also an ABC News contributor and former Deputy Assistant Secretary of Defense for the Middle East. Mick, how big of an escalation is this for the region?
Huge!
Well, if it is true that these strikes were in Iran, then it could be an escalation, but we have to see what targets were hit.
Nothing ever happens.
Sites, that would be a very substantial escalation. If it was a site, say, that was a manufacturer of the Shahed drones that attacked Iran, potentially not as escalatory. But really, it does come down to the perception of Iran. Right now, it's really important for us to find out what happened, and I'm sure that's exactly what the U.S. government is doing to try to gather this information and be prepared potentially for a counterattack, which could have been already prepared by Iran, knowing this was likely coming.
How concerned are you about the potential for a full-scale regional conflict?
I think everybody should be concerned about a full-scale regional conflict right now. This was substantial, the attack by Iran on Israel. That's why they felt like they had to respond. But the biggest concern, I think, with all countries involved, including countries in the region, was this could escalate. And it could escalate to a point where it's just nonstop. There is no calculated return. It is just an exchange of fire from Iran to Israel, Israel to Iran, which, of course, would be devastating to the region.
For our viewers at home, how concerned, people are thinking, oh, this is half a world away, but what could the impacts be here in the United States and beyond?
So yes, it is half a world away, but the world itself is much closer than it's ever been, especially when it comes to the economy. And I'm not an economic analyst, but you don't have to be to realize just how big of an impact this could have on world oil prices, for example, which is the underlying cost of everything that's transferred around the world. So this could be very substantial for the world community, and that's why there's so much attention to this right now.
All right, Nick Mulroy,
it's going to affect the oil prices. Good thing, but China is the only people who buy their oil.
Yeah.
I want to bring in Matt Gutman, who is on the ground for us.
Bro, Isfahan, like limited or not, nuclear facility or not, is still a target on Iranian soil.
You understand that Israel,
and
to at least one U.S. official, has fired missiles that have landed in Iran. We don't know the nature of the site, what they targeted. We don't know if there are casualties at this point. There may be additional strikes in other places. We don't have that yet confirmed. Of course, this is in retaliation to that massive
missile. They're talking about oil prices in the same way that I talk about oil prices. They have to talk about it because that is how wars are fought and won, okay? They're talking about the impact that this will potentially have for the United States of America because they're American news broadcasters. And they don't give a shit about Iranian lives or the lives of anybody else for that matter. That's why they're covering it from that perspective, as I have as well, time and time again. Because Iran retaliating, Iranian Fars agency says explosions sounded near Isfahan airport and Hashtam Shikari airbase. Yeah, I just don't think that Matt Saylor replied to you. What did he say? He said, we're working to confirm whether those reported explosions from Israeli strikes. I can't understand how there isn't more information on this in real time. It might not be the nuclear. It might not be the nuclear facility, which is fine, but it still means it is a escalation, as in it is a direct attack to Iranian soil from Israel. Now Israel has struck Iranian soil in the past, but it's more of like an open secret type situation, like I said, not necessarily with this many eyeballs.
And this and that, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that, and this and that. Okay, buddy.
Especially with like the Iranian government saying that they will have a severe and swift retaliation if such a strike would occur.
Attack from its territory to Iranian territory and been essentially public about it. Lindsay.
And of course, many people are concerned about the implications of that on a wider scale. Matt Gutman, our thanks to you reporting in.
The fact that the Iranian government is saying like, oh, we don't know the source of the attack is actually very interesting, specifically because I feel like if they acknowledge it, then it demands swift retaliation.
Ongoing since October 7th between Hezbollah and Israel, it's safe to say. So that is the main issue here for Hezbollah. Does it get actively involved in a war with?
Yeah.
Israel. I mean, look, this is Iran's largest and most powerful proxy. They have more than 100,000 rockets, according to the CIA. And actually, more Hezbollah fighters have been killed since October 7th than were killed in the war between Israel and Hezbollah in 2006. So it's safe to say the war here has already begun. But every time Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah here in Lebanon, has been asked about Hezbollah's role in this war, he always talks about needing to have solidarity with the people of Gaza, wanting to support Hamas, supporting the October 7th attacks, but crucially not wanting to get more involved in this war. It just might not be up to him if the war gets, if Israel chooses to respond to these attacks by Iran by hitting Iran's largest proxy in this country. Tonight it's too early to say exactly what
Israel
targets have been
bombs
hit
Iran all the
by the
time.
Iranians, but it doesn't seem at this point.
The cause of the sound is still unknown. Investigations continue until the exact details of the incident are determined, a semi-official Fars news agency said. Iran's Fars news agency said on Friday the explosions were heard near the airport of the country's central Isfahan city, but the reasons was unknown. It is interesting to see. That like the Iranian government is not hitting the full tilt like this was Israel and we're retaliating. We also have no information, no further confirmation on the reasons or the strikes or the targets on the potential explosions being heard in Syria and Iraq. We don't know. We don't know anything. There might literally not even have been
that the US was hoping would be the case.
Is this the same report? No. Is he just watching CNN?
It's Hasan.
Iran without
Iran is now saying that its air defense systems have been activated, seemingly indicating there was some kind of attack that transpired in its airspace. As we're talking now, I want to bring in political global affairs analyst Barak Ravid. Barak, I know that you are working your sources inside of Israel, inside of the U.S. government to find out as much as you can about what's going on here tonight. What are you hearing?
I don't hear much from the Israelis. One of Netanyahu's aides
what happened, Barak?
I spoke to just
I
minutes
thought you
ago.
had inside sources, Barak. What happened?
No comment. But on the other hand, it's 5 a.m. now in Israel, and he was awake. So I think it tells you a lot, even if he says no comment. Nothing much also from the Biden administration. All the officials I try to reach are in radio silence right now. But I think it's pretty clear to everybody what's going on. There's what seems to be quite a significant airstrike in Iran near Isfahan, and the air defense systems were activated. And I think it's fair to say that I cannot think of any other country right now other than Israel that has any interest or motivation to conduct such a strike in Iran.
It's an important point. Look, as you were hearing Alex Marquardt just a little while ago, telling us what he'd been hearing from U.S. officials, which is that they had been getting something that seemed to be parameters from the Israelis about what may or may not be fair game if there were to be a counterattack. According to Alex's sources, that they were not going to go after nuclear facilities. We do know that Isfahan there is a nuclear facility there, and just in February, Iran said that it started to build a research center there. So we know that there's also an army facility near Isfahan as well. Do you hear anything on the Israeli side about what they think would be within the parameters of a counterattack?
Yeah, this is from a senior defense correspondent on Channel 13 inside of Israel. Based on the reports from Iran and the U.S., is a limited and targeted attack on one Air Force base near Isfahan. Official Israel does not address the reports. Oh, great! I'm glad that it was limited and targeted, dude, as opposed to what indiscriminately firebombing the entire nation.
What the Israelis were trying to do is to conduct a strike that will be a retaliation on the one hand against a military target in Iran, but on the other hand will not be too big so that it would push Iran for an even bigger attack than they conducted last Saturday. And I think it's a very, it's a very complicated balancing act. I'm not sure the Israelis are calculating well enough Iranian intentions and the Iranian willingness to retaliate again for this Israeli strike. And I think the next...
Why are you saying Channel 13 isn't reliable? The Israeli teenager I talked to earlier today said he relies on Channel 13 alongside Yosef Haddad after saying Haaretz is biased and bad, and laughing about Ofer Kasif.
Maximalist response to any kind of Israeli activity in Iran, essentially. As you just
I thought
noted,
he said 13. He said Channel 14.
It's a question of whether the Israelis made the right calculation. If that is in fact the case, do you think that inside of Israel there would be some second guessing about the wisdom of a counterattack?
Well, I think that I don't know if to call it the hope or an assessment, but what I heard from Israeli officials in the last few days is that they think that the Iranians will retaliate.
All right, move on. That's boring, Hasan. Boring.
IRGC, bro. Chatter's got the IRGC in his back pocket.
Boring. Hasan sucks. We made it 45 in already. Crazy. Snowboarding.
Netanyahu wants a regional war with Iran. Why? When Israel bombed Iran's embassy in Syria 2 weeks ago, killing one of Iran's top generals, they were knowingly setting off a chain of events that was designed to drag Iran into war. Iran retaliated for the embassy bombing on Saturday, and now, as I'm recording this, the Israeli war cabinet is deciding on timing and scale for its attack on Iran. In hindsight, you can see how the embassy attack was obviously going to trigger this chain reaction we're seeing right now, which could very well boil over into an all-out war. Bombing another country's embassy is an act of war, and Israel obviously knows this. They knew Iran would respond, so then the question becomes, why do it? The main reason is that Israel's basically lost the war in Gaza. At the beginning of the war, Israel set out 3 primary goals for the war: to destroy Hamas, to get its hostages back, and install new leadership in Gaza that would prevent the Palestinian resistance from ever
This is such
power.
cope.
After 6 months, Israel has withdrawn the majority of its forces from Gaza. It's achieved none of its goals.
You
It's
mean to
indefinitely
tell
postponed the
me
invasion
that they
of Rafah,
put
and
goals
has
in
really
place
succeeded
that
in
were
turning
literally
itself into an
impossible
international
to achieve? Crazy. Gee, I
pariah.
wonder.
Like virtually
I wonder
every
if they put goals in place too impossible to achieve because they don't plan on it. Wow, because they were just gonna bomb Gaza until they said they were done. Wow.
colonial power before it, Israel's military philosophy is that the side with
They lost the war in Gaza. Come on, dude.
the most firepower
It's not
is the
even
side
a
that
war.
wins. Israel has historically relied on the use of overwhelming artillery and air power to do most of the work, no different than the United States in Afghanistan or Vietnam. They've also added
No,
to
you're right. It's not a war. It's a genocide, which means
whoa,
that
whoa.
it can
Hang
be
on.
in part. Huh?
He just compared. Okay, so he just said Gaza, Israel's bombings in Gaza is like Afghanistan and Vietnam with the United States. First of all, Afghanistan is not like Vietnam.
No.
Israel has historically relied on the use of overwhelming artillery and air power to do most of the work, no different than the United States in Afghanistan or Vietnam. They've also added to it the medieval-style siege campaign and starvation. But this
Okay. Comparing it to the use of air power is less egregious.
When it's like they used air power and artillery. Whoa, crazy. You mean they're like a modern military?
Yeah.
strategy almost
Artillery,
always
you
fails
say.
because it doesn't acknowledge that war is ultimately a political battle with a large martial component. You can kill a ton of enemy combatants, you can starve people deliberately, but that doesn't mean they'll accept your dictates. In many cases, it actually makes a resistance to you stronger because the friends and family of the people you've killed just end up taking arms against you.
Wow,
This
it's
is why
almost like
Israel is
that's
never
their
going to
intention.
beat Hamas. The last 6 months have shattered Israel's illusion of invincibility. It's reaffirmed that Israel can be beaten in battle and basically achieved for Israel the exact opposite of what it set out to do. Israel's projection of
Has it?
strength was supposed to deter
Hang on.
resistance. Now
What-
that's
bro.
gone. Not only did
Come on. What is this cope? You can't say this type of shit when it's a fucking... Is it a genocide or not, dude?
Yeah, it's very surprising.
Like,
that this
get
is the
real. Get fucking real. Oh, they defined a certain specific and they didn't do the specific Shut up. Fucking Hezbollah TV ass motherfuckers.
Did Israel's massacre greatly increase the Palestinian people's support for the resistance, it also undermined its strategic alliances. Israel's callous disregard for human life sparked mass outrage in Western capitals, which made it politically impossible for Western leaders to support Israel without being perceived as supporting genocide. All of these factors combined have, for the first time, created a countervailing force on Western support for Israel, which has changed the odds for
first of all,
Palestine tremendously.
I think we
made
need
a
to
whole video.
acknowledge that a majority of people are still not politically engaged enough to recognize how bad the situation is. But still, if we're gonna say anything, it's the uncommitted vote in America that it spawned, and it's shown. That's what's shown support. But we can't talk about that because that was planned by, the government here and not IRGC, like other things, right? Because like it was originally planned by, like I wasn't Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib, yeah. So that's why they can't mention it.
We're going through all the ways.
Yeah, no, it's a taboo subject for them.
The protests and changes in public consciousness are having a
We'll
real
see.
impact
Maybe
on
they will.
politics. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure to go to our page at Breakthrough News and follow us. But anyway, in that video,
Don't
we
do
talked-
that, by the way.
Go to
Don't
us
don't
and
do that,
follow
by
us.
the way. Don't go to follow Breakthrough News, by the way. It's just no.
Not the best source.
Just like if you're gonna do that, just support Hamas and Hezbollah directly. Don't be a pussy and just do it directly.
About how the tide is shifting with the U.S.-Israel relationship in a way we've never seen before. In a recent anonymous interview with The Telegraph given in late March, Israeli intelligence officials admitted that without U.S.
It's
support...
almost like we've never seen anything that's going on right now. Like October 7th was something that happened, and nothing ever happens. Land.
True.
Israel wouldn't be able to
every
defeat
war
Hamas.
a genocide?
The official says, if you'd asked me this a month ago, I would definitely say yes, we can eliminate Hamas, because at that time, the Americans were backing Israel. The U.S. doesn't support Israel going into Rafah, which they did before.
This is so funny. Liberal media. You think liberal media is framing it as a genocide? You're a fucking moron. Liberal media definitely is not calling it a genocide. I'm calling it a genocide because it went for the ICJ and it was basically declared one. They said it was the conditions of genocide.
Yes. Which is one of the
They literally said Israel is not preventing genocide and they need to make actions to do it, as in genocide is occurring.
Yeah.
So go argue with the ICJ.
And Article 2 literally says the conditions are one of the things of genocide, one of the 5 things that trigger genocide. I'm not sure whether they're transferring children forcibly, but that wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
they are definitely indiscriminately killing members of the group.
The thing is with the thank you. My mom got them for me. With the transfer of children, so it's the specific stipulation there. It's from one group to another. They're not like taking Palestinian kids and like raising them in Jewish families. They're putting them in orphanages, which is not the same.
No. Because what are the other ones? Births, preventing births, yes. Starvation.
Number 3 is like anything that can bring about its destruction.
Yes. I'm just going to bring it up just to make sure we're not misquoting anything here and we're actually being accurate. I did have it up. Hold on one second. Convention of Genocide. Just to prove a point here. Article 2. Article 2. 5 things that mean... it says, Article 2, in the present convention, genocide means anything of the following acts committed with intent to destroy.
And that's the whole thing, is the intent that was.
Yes.
So they would say like, oh, we didn't intend it, and then they would keep showing rhetoric that was specifically intent. And like Israel's whole defense is like, when ISIS killed the Yazidi, and it's like, if your genocide defense is ISIS is worse, like you're really grasping at straws there.
Yeah. Then it says
it's also so funny because this dude doesn't realize we're responding to fucking Hezbollah. This is fucking Hezbollah's news source, you fucking moron. That we're criticizing.
Okay, so it also says in whole or in part, which means literally intent to kill and killing 5 people. And you can show intent is genocide. If the intent is there, but they sucked at their job, that's still genocide. So, and then it says national, ethnic, racial, religious group, and such. Can you send Pega the link? And then it's Article 2A, killing members of the group, right? Just killing, guilty, Israel. B, causing serious bodily or mentally harm.
Hamas did. Are we going to say what Hamas did was genocide? Did they destroy Israel in whole or in part?
Or is Israel still standing? Anyway, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of a group, the bombing campaign, and literally decimating the entire Gaza Strip is definitely that. C, deliberately inflicting on groups condition of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part.
Which is,
guilty, because they are stopping aid.
Yeah, well, that was the specific thing that they got taken for.
Mm-hmm.
And in response, the U.S. is like, we're going to build a dock.
And then the next two are preventing births, measures intended to prevent
speaking about
birth
genocide, did I tell
and
you?
children.
Did I tell you that the NewsHour had Tigray? They covered Tigray on it and like how bad the famine.
Yes, you did. Yes. Also, October 7th was a genocidal act.
Mm-hmm.
But you cannot say that all of Hamas did that, because it wasn't just Hamas. It was ISIS. It was Al-qeada. There were hired fighters. There were people from all over the place.
IRGC.
So it wasn't just Hamas. So who are you going to charge for genocide on October 7th? It's just a genocidal act. Yes, it's repugnant, and we are not condoning this like other fucking morons who talk about this. But you have clearly...
Meanwhile, the people were watching justify it.
Yes. And you clearly have never watched us or anything that we say, just like everybody else that comes in and tries to one-up, and then gets destroyed, just like we just did. So, if you want to keep talking, go for it, but we're going to continue watching this video.
Cards right now aren't good, meaning Israel has to do something dramatic and drastic to change the momentum and climate. And now we all know what that dramatic and drastic thing was. The other secondary factors why Israel wants this war are domestic. In case you haven't noticed,
based. That's what it was. I mean, yeah, it's a declaration of war, but like anytime I see that fucking picture of Qasem Soleimani and he's like burning right there, like epic. Oh, you pressed it at the same
stopped
time.
it. Fuck.
Go ahead.
It's not a war, it's a genocide. War implies equal forces fighting each other. It's not a war. Gaza does not have
Jews.
Gaza does not have the capability to fight back, which is why all of the civilians have been leaving. Because it's civilians and like a few fighters. Unless, of course, you listen to Israel and then every Palestinian is a Hamas fighter. And then, kill them all, I guess.
That's the plan.
Israeli society is starting to rip itself apart over the war. In the past few weeks, there have been massive protests in Israel protesting Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the war. Now, to be clear, they're not protesting because the war has killed tens of thousands of innocent people.
You better say the right thing. You better not distort this, you fucking Hezbollah motherfucker.
They're protesting because they want the Israeli government to change tactics to get the Israeli hostages released.
It's
clear that as soon as the war ends,
God, I
new
can't
elections will be
believe
called,
he actually
which
fucking said the truth. I cannot believe Breakthrough News fucking said the truth about something. I am fucking shocked, dude.
Netanyahu would almost certainly lose. Therefore, for Netanyahu, the war can never end. And with Israel's humiliating defeat in Gaza, his only choice is to expand outward. And if you're thinking right now that risking a regional war to save your political career is insane, all I'll say is yes. And that brings us back to the embassy bombing. Iran really is the only adversary big enough to assure direct U.S. involvement. Israel could pick a fight with Hezbollah in Lebanon, and they very well might, but the U.S. won't go to war to save Israel from Hezbollah. Iran, on the other hand, has been in the U.S. crosshairs for decades. There's an entire wing of the imperialist class that's basically dedicated itself to taking down Iran for the last 20 years. Israel knows that if it instigates a war with Iran, the vast majority of Republicans, and probably also Democrats, would cry for war. The U.S. is saying for the time being that they don't want to get involved in a war, but that's much harder to say when missiles are flying. Going to war with Iran would also allow Israel...
Actually, no, it's not that hard. America just says, we're not getting involved. It's pretty easy, actually.
To flip the narrative from Israel being the genocidal superpower decimating Gaza to the tiny European democracy fighting the big, scary Islamic Republic. Israel hopes that people will forget about Gaza if this war with Iran starts. And this strategy is...
Israel is not a superpower.
Nope.
They're a regional power.
Yes.
Leaders in the Israeli war cabinet to start a bigger war to recover some sympathy in the West. I want everyone watching this to just really take a moment and appreciate how insane this is. The fact that Israel thinks it has the right to drag the entire region into war just to get out of the mess that it created. And this is the country that US politicians are constantly insisting is our greatest ally. I want every American to think long and hard about what we're being told here. Would our greatest ally take billions of our tax dollars to buy weapons to massacre women
and situation it created? Did it? I mean, sure. I mean, we could dial it back for long enough.
Children, and then blackmail the politicians who dissent. Would our greatest ally bomb another country's diplomatic facility to drag our country into fighting a war they couldn't win? Israel is a great ally for the military contractors or the oil companies or the imperialist strategists at the State Department. For them, it's an extension of their interests, but not for the vast majority of people. If we had a real democracy where the special relationship could be put to a vote, the relationship with Israel would end immediately. But we don't live in a democracy. The two major political parties aren't accountable to us and are still fundamentally
I don't know.
Hey, PBS.
Only wedded to Israel.
Look, they put the APEC.
The only thing that would change
there.
our policy.
Yeah, they did. Of course they did.
Policy is if the movement for Palestine makes the price for supporting Israel so great that the ruling class can't support Israel without being seen as completely illegitimate. But whether or not that movement comes into being, that is up to us.
No, it's not.
Here's a quick moment of, are we the bad guys?
It's a Hasan short.
Oh, it's a short. Let's keep
Hey, copyright music! Copyright music! Copyright music!
fuck it. God damn it, Hasan.
Graphics card.
Fucking Disney.
All right, explosions heard
Right.
in Iran. We're worried that much larger size war might break out now.
Oh my God,
Israel
YouTube
had promised
breaking.
America they were not
YouTube
going
is
to do
just
this.
really
It's hilarious.
Pausing.
Of course
This
they're
is
gonna do
not my
whatever the hell they
problem.
want, and America's
Shut
gonna
up,
rush-
Chunk. Jesus Christ.
Shut up, Chunk.
I don't know if you guys can hear me or not, but
We can now.
Okay, I hate this man with a burning passion under my ass. Like, he is
The breakthrough news guy or Junk?
him, this asshole on the screen right now. Like, just because you're from Turkey doesn't make you a authority on all things Middle Eastern and like Iranian, and like you're not, it's just like
You
shut
know
up
he's
and stick
Hasan's
to
uncle?
Yeah, I know. That's why I hate them both, like him and his
his entire media outfit.
nephew.
We have great
Like,
sound
just because you guys are like from Turkey doesn't make you you don't have the right to talk on Iran just because you're right next door.
But of
It's
course
not
they
even the
do.
same country.
That's why they have a news channel.
Ugh.
Who has the right to talk on Iran, though?
Israel. Let's
Have
see what
money
Chunk has
to start this gigantic war, it appears. But first, let me give you some of the details. And as I do that, I always remind everybody,
Like,
without
basically
you
what I'm
guys,
saying is that he does not I don't know. There are people around me and they're saying to reiterate that the reason why I do not like him is because he does not have any good information on Iranians. It's obvious he doesn't know an Iranian in real life at all.
Oh, so you're saying that he all his information is sourced from bad sources?
Well, Anna is Armenian.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know.
It's kind of okay. The other day I went out and I was talking to this guy and he randomly is like, "Where are you from?" And I'm like, "Iran." And he's like, "Oh, my boss's husband is from Pakistan." I'm like, "Okay."
Congratulations.
You thought that'd be a good thing to say in the middle of this conversation, and now it's awkward.
Yeah, what a derailing thing to say.
That's literally what these people think. It's like, oh, we're from Turkey, so now we have authority to talk about Armenia and Iran and all these other places that are nearby. You don't.
But they called themselves the Young Turks. Of course they can talk on Armenia.
Jack,
Yeah,
do you have the right to talk about New Zealand?
Yes, New Zealand's basically
the
Australia.
Young Turks, weren't they a fascist movement in Turkey?
Yeah.
That was responsible
But Anna
for
said it's fine. Anna said it's fine that their company is named after a thing that genocided her people.
Yeah, of course, one person has authority on the entire nation as well. The one singular Armenian who works for Turks has authority to well, whatever.
Yeah, she speaks to the Armenians. She's like the Lorax of the Armenians.
Oh man. Okay, let's hear what he has to say.
we don't have a show. Almost everyone in the media industry, in digital media, has gone under. 3 more companies in Syria. Iran's news agency, says the city of Gajawarstan is located near Isfahan Airport and the 8th hunting base of the Army Air Force. So meaning that they might have hit the Iranian Air Force. So when you have large explosions at or near an Iranian Air Force, it's not likely to be Norway or Nigeria or Thailand. It's likely to be Israel, but we don't know for sure.
It's very interesting that he hasn't brought up the nuclear thing yet, because that's the thing that I've seen everybody jumping to is like, oh my god, they've attacked nuclear things.
I heard something where Iran was like, we're gonna step up our nuclear response or something stupid, but I don't know if it was just like, you know how like people just talk shit and they like say they're on behalf of Iran or something.
So what I know is that there is a nuclear base in Isfahan, and there is this like army base there as well. So we're not 100% sure what they have targeted. The regime doesn't say anything. The regime is downplaying it. The regime is really terrified, of course, and it should be. And they also want to like save face between, you know, their supporters that look like they didn't do anything. They are actually saying that they made a lot of damage in Israel, but Israelis have not done any damage, and we're not even like able to.
It's actually impressive to see how much of their like media sphere and agents were convincing people that strikes were successful in Israel. It was fascinating how good they are at it.
It's so funny that they do that. And another thing that's very funny is that like their new keyword is micro drone. They're trying to like really downplay what happened last night.
I was saying as well, while they can control the media in Iran and opinion inside Iran, well, more than they can in like Iraq, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what about their proxies who are going to look at them like they're not responding to this, you know?
But the thing is that, like, here's the issue, John. The issue here is that the proxies are the ones believing the bullshit, not the Iranians in Iran.
That's a good point. I agree with you 100%.
Like everyone around us are like, oh my god, that was such a like power move from Iran, and such a like exactly repeating what the state media is trying to say. And in Iran, people are literally like, that was like, what?
You did nothing.
Exactly the opposite of what happened. And also, like, they're killing more and more Iranian women right now, and the morality police has gone like they're up their game tenfold, which is funny because the thing with the Islamic Republic is that their war is with the Iranian people first, and then the world second.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, like last time when America killed Soleimani, they shut down a passenger flight that was like basically just
we were making jokes
Iranians.
about this, like when Israel bombed them today. Like, boy, I'd be scared to be a passenger plane right now.
Exactly. Like a lot of people were trying to like a lot of people are postponing their flights because of this. Like no one, like we know that we are the first target, and then anyone else that they say are the enemies. So the situation in Iran right now, like no one's really sad about like the possibility of the war, because there is an ongoing war with the people in Iran currently, and it's been going on for 45 years. So it's kind of like the war was always with us and we don't have any weapons, you know? But now there are some of their like military bases being targeted. And another thing is that there is a huge solidarity between the Iranians and Israeli people. And that goes like back centuries. Like it goes back to Cyrus the Great freeing Jewish slaves from Babylon and rebuilding their Temple Mount. So the Iranians and the Jews have always been very friendly. And after Israel, Iran has the second highest Jewish population in the Middle East. So there was always this concern that if the war breaks out, especially with Netanyahu, we always thought that he would flatten Iran because he has the power and he doesn't like us either. But the thing with what they did last night is that for Iranians in Iran, they're a lot more comfortable with the possibility of a war between Iran and Israel right now, because they saw that the attacks were very targeted and they actually hit what they were trying to target.
It's like in Iraq, they first went in and they were like, oh, people were willing to greet them as liberators, right?
We're not saying they're liberators.
No, I'm just saying in the Iraq war, they didn't say that either. They didn't call them liberators in the Iraq war either. They're definitely still suspicious of the American forces. But you know what I mean? There's the whole moment where they put the flag on Saddam's head, and it was like...
Well, Saddam was a real war criminal, right? And so is the Islamic regime. Here's what I feel like people in America tend to forget is that Saddam was a war criminal. He wasn't this nice guy trying to be friendly and someone took advantage of him, right? He first invaded Iran. He then invaded Kuwait. He killed his own people. He killed the Kurds. That guy is there's no sympathy for that guy. And same goes for the Islamic Republic, right? Now, the question comes how, obviously, the war, it's not something that we're cheering on, right? No one, and this is another problem that us Iranians have always had. When we started the Women Life Freedom movement, all the leftists were like, oh my God, you guys just want military interventions. You guys are stupid. This is a CIA color revolution. And
color revolution,
we constantly said we do not want any military action. We literally were begging. And we were begging for the Islamic Republic, the Westerns to sanction the army and the IRGC, not the army, the army that's built for just taking care of the revolution, basically. So we were begging them to defund them, sanction them, and they didn't. And so when you don't do stuff like that, October 7th happens. And when you don't do stuff like that, they start attacking, right?
Well, there's also this whole thing, they frame it as Biden giving them money, but he unlocked money that they were holding on oil sales to Korea, right? And that didn't happen.
Yeah, but it's money that they shouldn't have had, right?
Yeah.
I don't care the money, where the money comes from. I care that the money doesn't go exactly in their pocket right now, that's the problem. And so when you give them $6 billion, they're gonna start, because that's another thing is that look, the way Netanyahu is treating this current war is that he knows if the war ends, he has to step down as a prime minister, right? And the Islamic Republic knows that too. They know that they've done this.
That's a really good point.
They've done this immediately after the 79 revolution with the invasion of Iraq invasion. That war went on for 8 years. It went on for so long that people forgot that there was.
I heard somebody say, and I'd like to hear what you think about this, but I heard somebody say that the Iran-Iraq war, the Ayatollah wouldn't have been able to hold on to power if Saddam wasn't there to stroke it.
Exactly. Because look, here's what happened. People wanted a revolution, right? They didn't want this guy. this guy was like, oh, I'm going to give you guys freedom. Like, we're going to have a parliament. Everyone's going to be represented. We're actually going to have like a vote and, you know, we're going to choose the government. And then the vote was, do you guys want the Islamic Republic or not? Right? That was yes or no. And
no is a
people
bullet.
People were blindsided. 12 days after the revolution, women came out in huge numbers saying we did not like the revolution was not so we regress. It was for progress. And if it wasn't for Saddam's invasion and that 8 years of war, he would have fallen immediately. This regime wouldn't have stayed, you know. But that was like such a
catalyst.
Yeah, and such a like
unifying
blessing
moment
in disguise for them, because now everyone is busy with the war, right? Everyone's defending the country. No one's bothered right now, or no one has a whole lot of like time to like think about all the civil rights that are being taken away, all the, you know, like educational rights that are being taken away, all these like things that are happening, right? It's just so like everyone's so worried about the war for 8 years. And so of course they stayed, and then the war is kind of ongoing since then. It's kind of like it's been fought via the proxies in other countries.
I was going to say, I think a war with Iran would be worse for Iraq than it would be Iran.
Yeah, no, it really, like, it would be worse for the Iranian people, that's for sure. But for the Islamic Republic, it'd be amazing. That's why they're trying to, like, immediately after the movement in Iran happened, I was like, they're going to start a war. They're going to start a war somewhere because they know that's how they stay, you know, that's how they stay in power. Like, the war is a really huge blessing for them to just, like, take on to power, and people are going to be busy. But the thing is that this time around, people are literally, they're saying, if a war happens, we're not going to go fight for them, because sure, it's our country, but at the same time, these people are not our country. These people kill us on a daily basis. These people kidnap our children. They sexually assault our girls. They murder our girls in the most horrific ways. And they are no better than, you know, the other side. So of course we're not gonna go fight for the other side, but we're not gonna go fight for them either, because like you want a war, go fight it. It's not like there are a lot of Basijis that are silly enough to want to like start a war. So
Yet. And obviously we give you updates as we go along, and also you all know we give you all the details on the live show Monday through Friday at 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern right here.
Iran. So I don't know if that was a real nice wish or if it was a
I mean, it's gonna happen.
I mean, I would love it. So whatever.
I mean, like not to give him a compliment, but the Shah was very flamboyant.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I think it's a very Persian thing to be flamboyant, right? We're also very touchy and like in tune with our feelings, and yeah, I don't know.
Makes sense. On youtube.com/theyoungturks. So tomorrow at 6 o'clock Eastern, we'll give you every.
We have a show.
We just covered the story on the show today. That's why I'm still in the suit and everything. We just got off the live show a little while ago, and where apparently Biden, in his own mind, had made a deal, according to the New York Times, with Israel. Go ahead and.
If you dislike being in a suit so much, film or record your shows in a t-shirt. No one cares.
Yeah, it's just it's literally legacy media standards that they give a shit about. I'm literally in a Spyro onesie. Like,
no, like the way he's like, that's the reason why I'm in my suit right now. Like, okay, that's
congratulations.
Such a weird thing to say. Like, just say I just came out of a set. Like, ugh.
Like you could take the jacket off and it's just a normal shirt.
I know.
Yeah, but it would just be like pit stains that you would see. It would just be like, you know, like the damp circles underneath. The suit's compensating.
Rafah, and they're already in Gaza, right? But this is the last city where they're going to go in, and where there's over 1 million Palestinians there, and they're going to decimate the city. and Biden's basically greenlighting it, but saying, okay, but we're going to make an exchange, but don't bomb Iran because that, and then we'll send you the 26 billion. Used to be 14 billion. Now all of a sudden, Mike Johnson, whose number one donor is AIPAC, is saying, oh, let's make it 26.
One thing I don't
Democrats
understand
like,
is that, like, why is he so upset that Biden doesn't want a war with Iran? Like, why is he like, so they said don't bomb Iran, and that's like so sad because we would really love for the 85
stipulation
million
that's being
Iranians
pushed,
to be in war. Like, what is that sentiment? So
the narrative that they're pushing is that the bombing was light on Iran because Biden said, okay, if you do a light bombing on Iran and don't bomb them that hard, we'll let you go into Rafah and keep doing your genocide. Like they made a deal on the bombing or something.
that is such a crazy thing to think about. Like, you have to be deranged to think that this is what happened. You genuinely have to be deranged to like believe such a thing.
Especially with 6 months coming up for the election, if Biden made a deal to okay the invasion of Rafah, he's done. Trump's winning.
Yeah. Also, Egypt is
thing that,
still
like, people
very
need to
serious about
understand-
fucking Israel up if they do it. So.
And another thing that people really need to start understanding is that Israel is a country. Israel has its own government. Israel doesn't really sit around waiting for America to like tell them what to do. Israel is a country. They have their own system. Like, it's so funny to me that like they are trying to bring everyone into this narrative. Like, just chill.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
you
we
don't
care
need
so
to
much
try
about
to
Palestinian.
start World War III here. You genuinely don't need to start World War III here.
This is basically what I say about Israel.
Mm.
People will come on here and try to say that the United States runs everything, and it's like, no, they don't.
I mean, we want to avoid a wider regional war, but give Israel more money. So both the Republicans and the Democrats, the Uniparty, totally agreeing war is awesome.
It's
The
so
neocons
funny
are
to,
back.
like,
The Republicans
want a greater regional war and then simultaneously like mock a greater regional war. Like, I don't understand it. But anyways, I need to kind of drop off right now. I will join later. I mean, we could just talk about it later, but I do need
We're
to
going to
drop
be
off.
on for like 6 hours, 5 more from here. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Most likely we'll be able to join again. Okay.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thanks for coming. Yeah.
are neocons. The Democrats are neocons. You saw me give credit to
No, they're
Biden
not.
after Iran launched when he said he would not back Iran's if Israel tried to go and do an offensive strike against Iran. But if it turns out A, Netanyahu didn't listen to him, and B, Biden gives him the 26 billion anyway, which is definitely
Biden
is what
gives
I
them
keep saying.
26 billion anyway. Did you not just say that the Congress voted it in? Did you not just say that, Chunk? I guess Biden has to sign it at the end of the day. Anything that they approve, he has to sign or veto.
True. This is what I've been saying. Instead of war, we should just make the leaders fight each other to the death. And not even pay-per-view. Everybody in those countries of the people fighting, free view. Everybody else is pay-per-view.
Okay, Mr. Taliban.
definitely going to happen.
We
There's a
made our
0%
football stadium
chance
an
that
execution
Biden would
ground.
ever take away.
It's not an execution.
So all they'll ever do.
It's a what do they call them? Gladiator fight.
Rehabilitation.
Yes, rehabilitation. The dildo monster truck.
Is give them more and more, kill and kill and kill, start bigger wars. 33,000 people dead isn't enough. 1 million starving Palestinians isn't enough. Hit them in their last remaining city where all the refugees are. Hit Iran. And don't worry, the American treasury is open to you. We can't afford universal health care. We can't afford paid family leave. We can't afford anything for Americans. But if Israel would like to start a giant war, we apparently all have to pay for it here in America. So I think that they're messing with things that are going to get outside their control at some point. Because I know the right wing's sick of it, and I know the left wing's sick of it. So I know the uniparty's like, rah, rah, rah. You know that over.
Would you just look at it?
Chess
Would you
boxing.
just look at
That's
it?
better. It's a much better idea.
Over 80% of Democrats still are against a ceasefire in Congress. It's just Both parties are disgusting. So are they going to call out if these are Israeli strikes against Iran, which is a disastrous idea? Remember, this started with Israel hitting a consulate,
pretty sure
which is
most
the same
people
as
are
Iranian
saying
soil.
that ceasefire for was that the more handsome version of me then, if that's the case? We might have more Iranians come in to talk about it today.
Oil in Syria. It's a brazen attack. And the story today was, oh, Israel forgot to tell America they thought it was no big deal that they'd hit Iranian soil. And they told them just a little bit before the strike. America flips out. They're like, what are you doing? That's a big deal. Don't do that. They're like, haha, going to do it anyway. Boom, press the button. They hit Iran. And then Iran does a campaign that is ineffectual back. And they did it on purpose to be ineffectual. Today, they were bragging about how ineffectual it was. They said, now remember, we launched with a lot of advanced warning. They'd given 72-hour warning basically to Israel, America, the Arab countries, saying we are sending drones and it will also take several.
What do you think of this?
Jesus fucking Christ.
He's got a Naruto headband for Iran. I bet you when Jackson Hinkle runs, he Naruto runs.
He probably does.
Person got hurt in Israel. So Biden, again, as I gave him credit, said, hey, look, that's enough. That's enough. You guys hit him. They retaliated in a very weak way. 0 people hurt. Meanwhile, Israel in their strike killed 7 of their top commanders, including their top general. So Israel already way ahead in how many people they've killed as usual and how badly they hit Iran as usual. But they can never leave well enough alone because Netanyahu is not just the Israeli prime minister. He's a neocon right-wing zealot who loves war and thinks war is the answer to everything. The fact that we're sending him gobs of our taxpayer money, a guy who's Dick Cheney on steroids, and for a foreign government, unconscionable, especially if they started this war. First of all, Marco Zambrano, thank you for joining, brother. Appreciate it. Happy Warrior. Thank you for the super chat, and thank you for saying great debate that I did yesterday in D.C. against Prager and etc. So now let me give you what the Iranians are saying before the strike. They said that if Israel takes action, Iran's response will be immediate and at a maximum level.
Had that
so
guy.
No more playing around, no more sending drones that take hours to get there, no more 72-hour notice. We're going to get right into the middle of a giant war if this is actually an Israeli strike. So look, I don't know anyone other than people who are massively biased or work in the American government. That's for Israel's right-wing government. I don't know a single person. Because what kind of a lunatic would be like, yeah, I think it's a great idea that Israel, in order to defend itself, murder 30 times the number of civilians that Hamas did. How's that self-defense? And guys, you have nukes. You have 2,000-pound bombs. You have jets. The Palestinians have almost nothing. What are you talking about? Defend yourself. And at 6 months in, you're still defending yourself. Literally no one believes that. No one in their right mind believes that. And so now you're going to start a giant war with Iran, which Bibi Netanyahu is wanting to start for
people
decades
believe
now. In
it
2002,
because they're ignorant.
in Congress. He's telling us, hey, start the Iran war. I told you I started already.
Maybe if you made better news and more people watched you, then more people would know. But unfortunately, here we are.
Yeah.
For it and have our troops fight it on his behalf. Hell no should be our answer. But almost everybody in Washington
they're just wiping his spit because he's spitting so much.
First of all, Sam Wolodowski, thanks for being a member. Appreciate you guys. With that, look, guys, why am I allowed to do actual reporting here that's honest and passionate about this? Why am I allowed to defend innocent Palestinian lives? Because of you guys. Because if you're a member, you allow me to do this without having to check with some corporate goon or some advertisers or some politicians. Oh, pretty please, can I criticize Israel just 5 or 10%?
The members weren't
please,
there
please.
that would
no,
be
I criticize Israel all I like because you guys are my boss. And it's not about criticizing Israel at large or for existing or any of those things. What it is right now we have a right-wing neocon government in Israel that says, I'm going to start multiple wars. I'm going to kill tens of thousands of innocent civilians. I'm going to starve 1 million Palestinians. And now you're going to have to pay for all of it. Why? Guys, the answer is super obvious unless you're corrupt. Okay. And I'm sorry, but if you're mainstream media and you're not reporting about the $100 million AIPAC is going to spend in this next election in regards to these stories, not just generically, hey, I mentioned it once, but hey, why is Biden doing what he's doing? Why is Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries, why are they all doing what they're doing?
Again,
because of the money, Lebowski. It's so obvious.
It's one of the great things of Pod Save the World and Pod Save America is that they actually do talk about this and they are very accurate because they're policy guys doing the news reporting, and they talk about AIPAC and influence and who's bought by AIPAC and all this stuff, and like who denied AIPAC funds and blah blah blah. Like I've learned so much about so many different people in our government. Oh, that reminds me, Jasmine Crockett has a new video of her. It's by Midas Touch, but it's her versus Marjorie Taylor Greene. I figured we'd look at that.
That's funny.
They probably have the best news podcast. I agree. So like I think they're very good. Obviously it's incomplete because, and even though they, like how I am, where I announce my bias before I come up with a take, but even though they announce their bias, they still try to explain like what the other side's perspective is. So I really like that aspect of it. But I think Democracy Now! Is also fantastic for independent, and then TLDR is like the new kid on the block. They're also outstanding. They're so good at gaming the YouTube algorithm too. And I don't know what kind of corporate backing TLDR has, but like obviously Pod Save America, they have like their own political PACs, you know, like they're huge. They're a conglomerate backed corporate media thing. They're not even independent.
The number one, reason why American politicians defy the American people overwhelmingly want a ceasefire, and the American politicians say no. Why do you think that is? Because they think it's more moral to kill all those people, more moral to start.
That's pretty cool.
Start a disastrous war that absolutely
I saw some Serbia stuff.
No.
Yeah. Also, they if you listen, they cite their sources really well too. They'll tell you like what indexes and stuff they're getting stuff from, and a lot of it is just like basically reading directly from the index, copy paste. And I'll read indexes all day, but when I pull them up on here, people stop watching. So they at least make indexes fun.
The largest donor Joe Biden has ever had in his career is AIPAC, $11.2 million.
Okay.
Mike Johnson's top donor in this last campaign cycle, AIPAC.
Okay.
Hakeem Jeffries, leader of the Democrats in the House, he now says, I'm going to vote with Mike Johnson. The same guy they were calling MAGA Mike and a radical right-winger. Now all of a sudden Hakeem Jeffries says he's got the entire Democratic Party's support. Why? Because he said not only
because they want Ukraine aid,
$26 billion for Israel, total green light, bomb anyone you like, and America will pay for it. America second. And Hakeem Jeffries like, yes, where's my money? Joe Biden's like, yes, where's my money? If you say that $11 million isn't relevant, Hakeem Jeffries has taken over $300,000. If you say that's not relevant, that he doesn't care about his top donor, you're absolutely positively lying. Of course they care about their donors. All right, couple of quick shout outs here. Peace to all. Thank you for the super chat.
I love that he's in the middle of like raging. He's like, okay, now a couple of quick shout outs.
Oh my God, your son wants to join the military. And he says, and I'm going to do everything in my power to stop it. My kids will. And then your sign up for this are all suspended. This does not look good. As long as they don't start.
We can move on to the next guy. Quit skipping
first of all,
around
that's so
and
meaningless.
just skip to the next one when you sit down. Got a lot to do.
More Young Turks.
No.
Yes. Actual Young Turks.
An Israeli airstrike destroyed a building belonging to Iran's embassy in Damascus, according to Iranian state media.
It was 23 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
And YouTube broke.
Iran's Revolutionary Guard said one of their senior commanders was among the dead. Israel's military didn't comment, but it's thought to regularly strike Iran-linked targets.
I know. I'll wait.
Okay,
they're going to say the absurd claim is that Iran claimed that the embassy was a terrorist base.
Okay, prediction.
And it's going to be 10 minutes of them going, I can't believe it. They're so illegal, which it is, but it's also funny. It was also funny. And honestly, still funny because nothing bad happened from this. Only good outcomes happened from this, honestly, at the end of the day. Because why?
Iran's revolutionary.
Yeah.
IRGC commander died. What else happened? Nothing.
Guard said one of their senior commanders was among the dead. Israel's military didn't comment, but it's thought to regularly strike Iran-linked targets.
And believe it or not, Israel was under the impression that conducting airstrikes on an Iranian embassy in a foreign country, Syria, in a sovereign country, Syria, was not a provocation or an escalation of war. So they were shocked that Iran wanted to retaliate. And that's not based on my interpretation. It's based on reporting from the New York Times. Let's take a look at their headline, which was, honestly, it takes a lot to shock me these days, but look at the subheadline. Israeli officials say they didn't see a strike on a high-level Iranian target in Syria as a provocation and did not give Washington a heads up about it until right before it happened.
Yeah, and I think that there's a potential second explanation here, that this leak is total BS, and that Israel knew that it was going to be a major provocation, wanted it to be a major provocation, but pretended to the United States, oh golly gee, hitting Iran on basically Iranian soil because it's a consulate. I didn't know that was going to be a big deal. And by the way, they note that they gave the Americans a heads up, but only minutes before the strike. And they said at that point, oh, we didn't know it was going to be a big deal. Well, why did you tell America? They flipped out. America said, don't do it. They did it anyway. So I'm not sure that I believe that it might be true. What what New York Times is reporting, which is that they think they're so above the law that they get to hit foreign governments anywhere they want, bomb any country they want. That sounds plausible.
I do think that. I actually have that interpretation of this.
But remember, there's that the second interpretation is enormously possible too. That there's a lot of BS to pretend to go, oops, did we start a World War III? Well, it doesn't matter. It was all an honest mistake. So America, go fight it for us. Pausing here to deliver some honest truth as we do in our news coverage as well. TYT is facing challenges, guys, as the entire industry is. You know who can make the difference? You. If you hit the join button below, it's going to make all the difference and keep us in business. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Israel's been assassinating physicists in Iran.
Yeah.
And
on their soil.
But they don't admit it. That's the difference.
Oh, okay. Oh, I wonder
they
who it
also
could be.
assassinated Al-qeada.
I know.
Okay,
but diplomatically, those things matter.
I am bringing that up because Israel has been able to act with impunity.
Do you think
So why
Iran
wouldn't
doesn't
they
do
think?
assassinations?
Yeah,
honey?
we're gonna do a strike on an embassy in Syria, the Iranian embassy in Syria. That's not a provocation because they're used to acting with impunity. Let's keep it real. So look, you're right. Both possibilities are possible.
What happened?
Okay, but my interpretation was a little different. Let me give you more details about it. So Israel also, again, did not let the United States know about the strike until moments before it was carried out. The US was caught off guard. According to the Times, aides quickly alerted Jake Sullivan, President Biden's national security advisor, John Feiner, the deputy national security advisor, Brett McGurk, Biden's Middle East coordinator, and others who saw the strike, saw that the strike could have serious consequences. A US official said, publicly, US officials voiced support for Israel, but privately, they expressed anger that it would take such aggressive action against Iran without consulting Washington. Particularly because of the fact that we have American troops in that area, in the region, and they're concerned that when Iran retaliates, they might target members of our military. So they were concerned about that, and it didn't give them enough time to prepare in order to, protect our troops in the region and to ensure that defenses are bolstered for a potential backlash from Iran. Now, while the United States was informed about it at the very last moment, Israel had apparently been planning this attack for 2 months. A week before the attack on Iran's embassy, the Israeli War Cabinet approved the operation. Israel miscalculated and thought that Iran would not retaliate, and obviously they did. So Israeli defense records outlined the range of responses from Iran that the Israeli government expected, among them small-scale attacks by proxies and a small-scale attack from Iran. None of the assessments predicted the ferocity of the Iranian response that actually occurred. And the ferocity was that no one was hurt, no buildings were damaged, and multiple countries got together to provide defense of Israel, shooting down missiles, things like that. And by the way, as we had reported earlier this week, Iran made it clear that they were doing it to save face with the people in Iran, with their constituents, with the people there. But at the same time, they didn't want to escalate this to a war, to a full-blown war. From the day of the strike, Iran vowed retaliation both publicly and through diplomatic channels. But it also sent messages privately that it did not want outright war with Israel, and even less so with the United States. And it waited 12 days to attack.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that's a second kind of red flag here. First of all, America doing the usual leak where they're like, publicly, we're backing Israel 100%, and we're going to send them $26 billion to start this war. But I got news for you. Behind the scenes, we were living.
I can't
the things that count are not the money, are not all of our public support, not the vetoes at the UN, not all the ways that we assist them. But man, we wore out our finger wagging at them. And the third reason I'm skeptical about the leak is that they're like, well, Israel hit them, and I guess that's not good. But look at the ferocity of Iran's attack. This was unexpected. I guess we're gonna have to do something here because what a ferocious attack Iran did, just totally out of line. Again, I might be over extrapolating here, guys, but I'm giving you both sides. Yeah. Either way, what difference does it make? Because America, you finger wag all you like behind the scenes. You're going to help them attack Iran, and you know it, and you're going to drag us. Look, I gave Biden credit for saying I don't want to participate in offensive actions against Iran. So great if he sticks with that, wonderful.
Yeah,
okay?
Well, because we made a
Facts
deal with
matter,
them,
right? But I'm not interested in the finger wagging behind the scenes.
Okay, so I don't think the United States wants to assist Israel in doing more strikes against Iran or attacking Iran.
Apologies. Go for it.
Okay, hang on.
Almost has nukes? Since when?
I don't believe so. The closest they were to achieving nukes was in the 70s under the Shah, and it still hasn't happened. So
yeah, no, there's no way.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they don't like make sarin and stuff.
Maybe easier for them.
If Iran has a nuke, okay, well, we just saw what a ballistic missile onslaught against Israel does, right? So it would have to be the one missile that hit the Bedouin girl, you know? That one would have to be the nuclear tipped one. So even if they had a nuke, how are they going to use it? Where is it going to get through? Also, hey, no, in the list, there's an MBS video I put in there.
Okay.
It's a short. It's him talking about Iran's nukes. And he's right in it too. And I was like, wow, he can talk. I didn't know he could speak English. His accent is very funny in English.
Okay, we'll play it after this.
Well, not his accent, but
The reason why I say that
the cadence of his voice.
Right.
It's not so much the Arab accent that's funny. It's like how Putin sounds very strange in English.
Yeah.
It appears that the Biden administration has made a deal with the devil. And while Biden originally said that he was 100% against Israel doing a ground invasion into Rafah, where all, like, at this point, over 1 million displaced Palestinians are on this tiny, tiny piece of land at the southern border with Egypt, this little area called Rafah, right? And so Israel conducting a ground operation there, attacking Rafah would obviously lead to many civilian casualties. And so Biden was totally against that until this Israel situation, the Iran escalation came up. And it seems as though Biden is willing to allow Israel to do the ground invasion into Rafah as long as they don't do another strike in Israel, in Iran. And by the way, there's no guarantee that Netanyahu and that unhinged Israeli government wouldn't also continue doing strikes against Iran. So I think both things are going to happen.
Yeah. So again, they're slightly
Where are they
different
getting
interpretations,
this
but I
from?
understand exactly what Anna's saying. But look, first of all, even before I get to the other interpretation, look at what we're doing. The United States, which is now trying to rush $26 billion to Israel, is negotiating with Israel. How much are you going to disagree with us and defy us? Can you please just do one thing we asked for, not bomb Iran? Then of course, sir. Yes, Netanyahu, sir. Of course you can invade Rafah and kill as many Palestinians as you like and do all the damage that I pretend.
Where the fuck are they getting this from?
I don't know. I wasn't listening. I was listening to a voice message somebody sent.
No, they're just going over this fucking Biden made a deal that they can invade Rafah, just don't hit Iran that hard.
I don't know.
Where the fuck are they getting this from?
A leak.
And to be against because hey, Michigan, I really care about Palestinian lives.
And remember,
Joe Biden.
They leak on purpose.
Okay, look, guys, you can disagree with my style and you can say you're mad at me, but the proof's in the pudding. So now they're going to go obliterate Rafah, and Biden's giving a green light to it. And after we send $26 billion, do you think that who's going to be like, oh, to be fair, I made a promise to Biden? No, he's going to go out publicly and say, yeah, goddamn right I did, Rafah, and goddamn right I bombed Iran. America, go! I order you. And look, guys, be honest, has Biden ever defied Netanyahu? No, I'm not interested in words. I'm not interested in what he said in a phone call or any sternly written letters. Has he taken $1 away from Israel? Has he done one thing that Israel disagrees with? No. So who's the boss here? Who's the boss? Obviously, Netanyahu's the boss. So all this is just, they're going to do whatever they want.
And by the way, even the Times is reporting that Israel seems pretty hell-bent on conducting retaliatory strikes against Iran after Iran did retaliatory strikes against Israel. And so Dana Stroll, who is a former top Middle East policy official at the Pentagon, says that the question now is how does Israel respond in a way to prevent Iran from rewriting the rules of the game without provoking a new cycle of state-on-state violence?
When we are concerned of any country getting a nuclear weapon, that's a bad
hang on.
Move. You don't need.
Wasn't ready. I was checking to see if the chinchilla was still around, and he didn't escape. I'll check after this short.
When we are concerned of any country getting a nuclear weapon, that's a bad move. You don't need to get a nuclear weapon because you cannot use it. Even if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, any country use a nuclear weapon, that means they are having a war with the rest of the world. The world cannot see another Hiroshima. If the world see 100,000 people dead, that means you are in a war with the rest of the world. So it's a useless effort to reach a nuclear weapon, because you cannot use it. If you use it, you got to have a big fight with the rest of the world.
If they get one, will you?
What an interesting response. What an honestly interesting and fairly grounded response.
Now, one second. Let me make sure my chinchilla is still here.
Are you aware of a CIA psychological profile about you, sir? Would you be interested in hearing what the CIA had to say? This secret study portrays as a brilliant but dangerous megalomaniac who is likely to pursue his own aims in disregard of U.S. interests. He's an uncertain ally. Shall I go on, or would you prefer that I stop, sir?